So, Shep, we're going to start off with a simple question for you. You ever heard of barre?
Greg, absolutely. Didn't you ever go to the ballet, the ballerinas, that little bar, they stretch?
No, I have never been to that, actually. But barre, striker for Gamba Osaka, did dance all over Houston in the Pan Pacific Championship final. Houston lost 6-1. We're going to be discussing that and more next on ET. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to MLSnet.com's Extra Time. As always, I'm your host, Greg Lawless. Shep Messing sitting next to me. And this week, we're going to be talking about DPs and a new signing in Kansas City. We're also going to later on get to Houston and Chivas, possibly an MLS Cup winning season for them. And lastly, a new team coming in 2010. So stick around for that. We're going to start off, though, Shep. The rumors out there, it's almost a done deal. Claudio Lopez, the Argentine World Cup veteran. He's played in Spain. He's played in Italy. He's got 140 goals over his career. He's going to be signed by Kansas City. This is a new direction for Kansas City. New ownership, new energy. They lose Eddie Johnson, but they go and replace him with a big player.
Yeah, Greg, this is a great buzz for Kansas City. The question is he still the great player he used to be? 58 caps. You talked about 2 World Cups. At his best, he's a prolific goal scorer, not a target striker. He could get wide to the left. He could get forward. Certainly, I applaud the effort by Kansas City. Hope he's the same player that he was a couple of years ago.
Well, that's been a lot of the question in terms of the DPs anyway. Do they come in bringing what you want them to bring? You know, El Piojo, the louse, if you will. Lopez comes in here. He's got 141 goals in his career. He's obviously a guy who knows how to score. And this is a team that maybe could use that because the other guys they brought in, Carlos Marinelli, Eloy Columbano, they didn't really do it for them last year.
Well, Kurt Onalfo has a very organized system, and I think he's really going to take advantage. He was very careful, very selective in going about what's obviously a big move for them. So they're counting on him to do one thing, score goals.
Well, they're down in Argentina right now, Kansas City, in training. So this is a big move for them. But, you know, let's look now. It's been about a year since the DP has come in. We've had one season. Let's look at the DPs a little bit. You know, they're obviously going to bring different things. Beckham, attendance, selling jerseys. You have Juan Pablo Angel in New York comes in, gets lots of goals, makes them exciting. You have Blanco who does both, sells out the stadium and makes Chicago better. What is your thought now a year into the DP rule?
Well, first of all, I love it. I think you agree. It's tremendous for the league. It's given Major League Soccer a worldwide appeal, which it didn't have before. You talked about the factors. If you're going to spend the money on a DP, first of all, for me, he's got to lift that team on his shoulders and produce, win. Certainly, he's got to do something beyond that, which Beckham did in LA, Blanco did in Chicago. The only questionable ones for me, really Claudio Reyna, not so much as a player, but do you spend that money on a defensive midfielder? And obviously, Danielson, he didn't work out.
Danielson didn't work out at all down in Dallas, and they got lucky that they only signed him to a one-year deal, and they jettisoned him at the end of the season. Another DP that was signed, DC United going to get Marcelo Gallardo. They brought him in from Paris Saint-Germain, attacking midfielder to replace Christian Gomez, who was traded to Colorado. Now, I have some big questions about this. I'm not sure that Gallardo is that much better than Gomez, number one. And number two, I think that Gomez has become sort of a cult hero to the DC United faithful.
Greg, I think you're right. And we talk about these DPs. It's high risk, high reward. I think for DC United, that's a big risk. Christian Gomez had a following, as you mentioned. He is a proven player in Major League Soccer, so that's a big risk. But when you're going to sign a DP, you're going to take that risk.
Well, Gallardo is certainly a DP-level player, and DC has a track record of some great signings when they're bringing players in. So, you know, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that this is going to be a good one for them as well. So, Shep, we've been talking about DPs. However, the irony is that the two teams that made MLS Cup final last year, New England and Houston, didn't have DPs. Last week, we saw Houston go up in their first big preseason test, Pan Pacific Championship. They won 3-0 against Sydney FC from Australia, but in the final were shellacked 6-1. What does this mean for this Houston team?
Well, Greg, it's a preseason game, but certainly for Dominic Kinnear, there's some warning signs there in that game. They lost Cochran. Eddie Robinson was out with an injury, so maybe depth at the central defensive position. And some question marks, Greg, maybe up top, who's going to support Brian Ching? Is Brian Ching still the same player?
Well, that's a question I think everyone is having right now. Is Brian Ching still the same player? Exactly. You know, he's taken a beating over the years. He's got some injuries. Now, if they could just look across the way, in that 6-1 loss, Barre, 26-year-old Brazilian, 6'3", knows how to create space and score goals. He scored 4 against Houston in that final. maybe he's a possible target for a DP. They also did sign Franco Caracho, an Argentine 21-year-old, played for the Argentina under-20 team. So they're trying to make some changes.
Well, I'm not worried about Houston. First of all, you mentioned maybe a DP, Barre. They may have new ownership, which would be great. Oscar De La Hoya, the fighter, possibly coming in. They will be going for an unprecedented third title in a row. There's a big buzz about Houston.
And you still have to have some confidence in Dominic Kinnear. He's shown such great consistency over the years in getting that team to perform. Oscar De La Hoya may be coming in as an owner, looking to maybe own 25% of Houston. That would be some great energy for a team that over the last couple of years has proven itself with 2 championships. Houston's main rivals last year were Chivas USA. They fell apart at the end after their forwards, Michael Galindo and Ante Razov, went down. But Shep, they've addressed that this year. They went out and got Aleko Eskandarian. They got Atiba Harris. They brought in Rafael Wiki. You put it on paper right now, this is the team to beat in the West.
Greg, I love this team. Start with Preki. He's now a proven commodity as a coach. And give me a better 5 down the spine. Guzan in goal, Suarez, Jesse Marsh, Galindo, Ante Razov.
And don't forget, they also still have Sasha Kleshins, who's the heart and soul of that attack. Jonathan Bornstein, young left-sided midfielder or defender who loves to get into the attack. You know, this is a team that I think could go very far.
Well, let me poke a hole in the balloon, though. I mean, Brad Guzan, if he leaves the team to go to Europe, I think they're dead in the water. Now, to his credit, he has said, I didn't get the work permit. It fell through. I'm committed to Chivas. But do they stay intact?
But what about Claudio Suarez's age? Is that a concern? He's 39 years old. Can he last throughout a season? Preki did go and get Jim Curtin to bolster the defense in the back and help out, but Suarez's age is a problem.
Well, I think if anybody knows about playing with age, it's Preki himself, so he'll know how to monitor Suarez.
That's true. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say if this team stays intact throughout the whole season, they're going to win MLS Cup. Time to dip into the mailbag, and this week we got an email from Zach in Yardley, PA, who asks, who do you think would be a good coach for the new Philly team? Well, coach, new Philly team. Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet, Zach. Yes, there is an announcement scheduled for MLS in Philadelphia, and it's the worst kept secret in the league that this is going to be the new expansion team. They'll start play in 2010.
And Greg, I think it's great. You talk about fan rivalry. How about Philadelphia, New York, DC United, and New England?
Well, the Sons of Ben have 1,500 fans already. Gotta love the energy. Zach, hold off on the questions about the coach, but great enthusiasm. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email us at extratime@mlsnet.com. We'll try to get those whenever we can. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have this week, but join us again next week. I'll be here, Shep will be here, and we'll kick it around.